I can wave and bow. Are you well? This will be Japanese, I think.
Listen, the Japanese seem to have done so well in this thing, so I think it's a good idea.
With the Premier of the Western Cape, Winde, it's one of 4 such facilities in the Cape. There's one out in Paarl, one out in Khayelitsha. There's a 4th one somewhere.
And 17 in the total planning.
There we go. So we've, and I'm hoping, against all hope, that this is the busiest this facility gets. But I mean, we're preparing for what appears to be almost an inevitability. These numbers are going to spike through no fault of our own. It's a virus. It will be transmitted. We've done very well at slowing it down, but it's not going to disappear, as some people claim, almost miraculously. This is almost confirmation that we're staring this thing in the face and we're tackling it on head on.
The lockdown is giving us time to prepare and making sure that we spread that spike over a longer period of time. But that means it's going to go on for longer. And with these kind of facilities that you can see, there's a whole lot of facilities that we don't show the public. That's our quarantine facilities, because people need their privacy. But we've got hotel beds and B&B beds, hundreds of them that are procured, and people are taken out of risk areas, put away. And then the other thing is what you'll see coming now is, this is sort of screening and testing. You're going to also see the extra hospital beds that we're going to be putting in place. So from next week, you'll start to see where they start to pop up. So you'll see the similar kind of thing. More in buildings if we can, because we're going into winter.
What is the modelling suggesting? Because we obviously have a massive TB problem. So people already in this part of the country, and in fact, numbers that are out of sync with the rest of the world as far as respiratory illnesses are concerned. We're sitting potentially on a ticking time bomb here.
Correct. That's why our modelling is so unique. We can't use other models in other parts of the world, and that's why I supported the President when he came with this early lockdown. It was the right thing to do, and the outstanding presentation done by Professor Karim the other night really shows the kind of intensity and the work that's been done in that modelling. Our own modelling changed because of the lockdown, and we're getting that to Cabinet on Friday, and hopefully I can actually make quite a bit of that public so people can actually see. We all think that things are fine, but I promise you those numbers are going to rise, and they're going to rise quite dramatically. And then when we get to that stage, are we going to be able to cope? And that's the big question. So hopefully we can cope with this facility, the hospital facility, and perhaps another bed facility, so that we don't look like other countries where you've got people in beds out here in the parking lot. That's what we don't want, and that's what we're working towards. But this is a mammoth task. I said to Cabinet this morning when I opened it, I said, I think we all wake up in the middle of the night and think we're in some Orwellian kind of nightmare, or maybe Mad Max has become a reality. But in actual fact, this is a reality. It's not a dream, and we're in the middle of it. It's probably the biggest thing that we are going to face, any of us, in whichever job we're doing in the world today. This is the big thing that's going to face us, and we've got to just keep focus. Get the best people we can around to advise us, and make sure that we're doing the right things like this in preparation.
And I suppose the abiding message here is, and many people are expecting come 1 May at the end of the lockdown, if that happens, that life goes back to normal. I mean, this is an indication that there might be some semblance of normality depending on what government announces, but we're in this for the long haul. There's no quick fix. This is not a problem that solves itself at the end of April.
Okay, so I talk about post-lockdown new normal. And the post-lockdown new normal is going to mean that people are going to do business with masks on. People are going to have social distancing. You won't have a customer on the other side of the counter anymore. That customer has to have its goods delivered, or they'll collect it. We're going to do business totally differently. And so how do we develop that new normal? How does the business sector start to come up with their own ideas? Because government can't tell them what to do. We need the sectors to start saying, this is what we're going to do that's going to actually help us get through the next year without having our own staff becoming too sick. And we know that a number of staff members are going to become sick. But how can we manage it through that system as we go through that spike down the other side? It's going to be a new normal post-lockdown.
With that new normal comes massive socioeconomic challenges. Just on the road yesterday, we had rampant protests. I'm imagining these will only intensify as the weeks unfold, as the lockdown is partially lifted. Jobs are going to be lost, incomes are going to be compromised. There's a mammoth effort on the part of all spheres of government to address the very real plight that people are going to find themselves in.
That is probably the biggest risk. I mean, the thing that's facing us right now is food security to the end of lockdown. But even food security at the end of lockdown and that new normal, with a massive slowdown in the economy, nutrition and feeding is going to become kind of part of what we do for the next 6 months at least. The new economy's got to have to start to kick up, and some of it's not going to be there at all. I mean, just think about the tourism economy. That's going to take a long time. Planes are not going to fly for a long time. What are the other economic sectors that we can get going quicker than slower? But all of that puts a big risk on society. And if you're hungry, I mean, there's a massive risk. And so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, as you go longer into a lockdown, people get frustrated. Have a look at who's on the street. It's the young men that are outside of the social grant system that aren't getting their beers on a Friday night or every night. And this is starting to develop a pressure point. And it worries us as government, as police, as the security system. And my call to the public is we're all in this together. And please, if we're getting to that strained place, let's try somehow to have a discussion rather than burn tires and riot, because that's going to actually then become the next center of spreading of this virus.